Hey Andromedans, welcome to your Starseed energetics for the month of December 2017. I hope you guys have the most amazing holiday season and the wrap up to 2017. You might hear some background noise because I'm recording somewhere else because there's a lot of construction at my house right now, and this background noise is definitely gonna be way better than the other one. So. So interestingly enough, in the center of your spread is all Wands cards. It's all creative sparks. So there's definitely a tremendous amount of energy, and there's different levels to this wand energy. And they're all suits. They're all people, and I think they all represent different levels of yourself. So in the center is the Knight of Wands, which is a stage of the creative process where you're kind of not afraid of what obstacles are ahead, and you're not really thinking of the challenges that stand in your way. You have this focused awareness of this goal and this achievement that you want to attain in your life, and nothing's going to stop you from that. The downside to this card can be that you're overlooking any sort of challenges that might be coming up ahead, but that's totally okay as long as you maintain with this balanced perspective and term at certain times, because I think you have this hastiness sort of that comes with the Knight of Wands, because in the recent past you had the Hanged Man, which is you've been suspended for a long time. It's like you've been kind of frozen in this phase of your life where you couldn't really get anywhere, like you were kind of stagnant for whatever reason, whether that was spiritual growth or any sort of, you had to learn your lessons, or you had to learn some sort of patience, and you had to kind of build a solid stability wherein you can kind of experience this exponential change and exponential growth. So as you come out of this in December, which you definitely are because there's so many wands, and there's the Tower in the bottom, which means there's going to be significant amount of macrocosmic changes and shifts that's going to be happening this month. As you're coming out of this deep freeze, sort of like a cocoon, you're like ready to just burst into action towards this judgment energy, which is this sort of divine compensation for all that you've built and all that you worked towards. And the foundation of this is the Queen of Wands. So I feel like this is sort of on the level of your higher self and those aspects of your consciousness where you sometimes reach this peak level. You know, there's different levels of consciousness that you embody from time to time. And if this is your critical mass energy, like the most dominant level of consciousness that's operating, you have higher peaks where you're more in tune with your higher selves. And that is the Queen of Wands, where you're very confident. You can sort of emit this energy of already having attained that which you desire, so you don't feel this sort of aggressiveness towards it. And these peaks bring about this sort of Tower energy where it's, when I see the Tower, I don't get repelled by this Tower energy, because it's just really sudden change. You know, if you could see this Tower, it's breaking apart, but there's this newer layer that's being revealed, and that is the truer representation of you and your manifestation, right? So there is definitely, like, with this Judgment and with this Tower as being the crossing energies of your efforts and your personal creative outputs, there's definitely going to be a compound energy of change that's going to be happening. And on the crowning position, interestingly, is the Page of Wands, which is this constant streaming and downloads of new creative direction. So I think you're going to be having these phases where you're constantly getting new inspiration for new ideas and new ways of navigating throughout these timelines, coupled by this sort of like ruthless execution of it that's also crossed by this divine feminine energy that is more mature and knows how to handle these creative impulses. So with this 3 layers of this wand energy, I think you're definitely going to be creating some intense and balanced manifestations. And on the so just recognize when these different levels come across, and you can sort of balance this kind of Page energy with your Queen of Wands energy, which is that higher perspective. But yeah, there's definitely going to be these cycles of action and output and creative flow that's going to be happening throughout December. But then these different levels might be resulting in some sort of internal, I guess, noise. I wouldn't say it's a conflict, because I feel like you're way integrated. The way that this all comes up in a straight line, like Page, Knight, and Queen, I don't think it's anything tumultuous. Like, I think it's something that's happening in a balanced way, but still it's creating this noise of 5 of Wands, where there's like different aspects of yourself that one is impatient and the other is just infinitely patient. And so there could be these varying levels of thought patterns and emotions that arise, but I would just trust it and go with it. And so in the near future, you're going to be in this position where all these creative outputs are manifesting in some sort of tangible physical way. And you're learning to kind of share that and not view this abundance of material manifestations as an increase per se, but a dynamic of endless flow. And so when these pentacles are being projected into your near future, I wouldn't necessarily say this is pointing out to resources, whereas resources are a great symbol of this manifestation. It's a part of it, but it could also be like your time, your physical energy, and where you share that with other people freely and not feel like you're depriving yourself. So when you stop viewing your like physical realm as some sort of increase or something you have to hoard, and you're giving freely of that when it's relevant, then the way that it flows into your life will also be generous with you. And I think that's sort of what you're working to kind of stabilize this month, is this notion of, yeah, you're putting in all this creative output, and then obviously you get this tangible results manifesting in this physical realm, but then you're learning that, you know, your creativity is pretty much infinite. It comes from a cosmic supply, and you don't have to necessarily manage it in the way that you've been conditioned to socially to you know, save and hoard and hold on to it and be frugal with giving or sharing it, and kind of perceiving the input and output as a cyclic, returning, like a cyclic directional flow, and cultivating that faith that it's of course going to be an infinite supply, and you don't have to worry about losing it or sharing it, right? Okay, I'm gonna pull maybe a couple of... So the one thing that's really evident here is that you have so many suit cards. Like, most of your spread is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7 out of 11 cards you've got is suits, which is people cards or different facets of your character. And whereas I think you're going to be having a very like socially active month in terms of energetic exchange, or you're maybe networking, or maybe even discovering many different facets of yourself and many different levels of yourself, which is basically the same thing. Just it's either vertical or horizontal. Horizontal being like an external manifestation of the different facets of yourself, and vertical being the internal manifestation of the different facets of yourself. So it's not, I know it's the holiday season and it might seem obvious, but there's a lot of signs where a lot of people are having like an introverted month, but it seems like you're having a very active and giving and receiving and balancing month where you are interacting with many other people and beings and facets of yourself. So as the primary representation of your energy this month is the King of Cups, which is, you know, that mastery of the emotional realm and that person that people are drawn to because you have this cultivated energy of serenity and tranquility and just that bliss. So when people are interacting with you, they get that aura of that internal work that you've always been doing. And that, you know, attracts a lot of light and dark, both light and dark at the same time. It's just like a different being. But then, you know, as we're navigating through these times that are very accelerated, that whole notion is changing where you're the only person who's holding this much light. There's so many other people who have so much to offer to you. So energetic exchange doesn't necessarily become that dynamic of you giving out light and transmuting other people's darkness anymore. That can offer you different facets of light, different facets of love and light that you can exchange. But there's definitely something that you offer to the world around you. And as you become less stingy with that energy, I know exactly how you feel, because sometimes, let's say you're in a public place and you just feel those like parasitic energies of other people like taking away your good vibes and taking away your aura. Like that has been a paradigm, but I think we're shifting in a place where everybody else has some different facet of light to offer. And maybe that's not necessarily the case in every situation, but you could start to act like that is the case with every situation, because that's the way that the Queen of Wands operates. They have this knowingness that when they desire to see a certain projection and they kind of override their current physical reality with that frequency of the reality that you wish to perceive, then it eventually shifts into that. And that's the kind of work that you've been doing. And I think, whoa. I think that in your environment, you have the Knight of Pentacles, which is this energy of like this slow moving progress. So this in conjunction with what I just said about the King of Cups, the environment is step by step, slowly progressing towards that which you embody in frequency. It's slowly moving towards that. So it's not stagnant, it's coming about, right? But as you witness these changes, you just learn to maintain that frequency, but then at the same time, you constantly have these new inspirations that the Page of Wands, I can't pick it up. Oh, the new inspirations that are surrounding you. It's like your frequency is not stagnant. Like your biggest dreams, as much as you can dream your biggest dreams and your highest wishes, it's constantly being altered by these new inspirations, because you're accepting the fact that there's this like cosmic supply of next levels. So you're freely giving it and you're not holding on to it necessarily. And in your hopes and fears or dreams, you have the Empress, which is you want to learn to kind of receptively witness and passively, like this is the divine feminine card, and you want to have that confidence and embody this like Queen of Wands energy, where you kind of attract what you desire in reception and attention, and watch it sort of unfold. And that's what you kind of want to do. And you don't want to be that person who's like constantly striving to take action and things like that. And I think that's a recurring theme that's evident. And you have this as your final outcome, you have the Knight of Cups. So with the Knight of Cups, this is definitely some sort of external offer that's being made to you in exchange to all of that which you offer to the world. And I think it's towards this state of this Empress where you sort of have the world. And there's this really beautiful saying from Almine, who writes on like just redefining the idea of abundance, as she goes, what's her saying? Let me find it. As you wish for abundance, ask for the world if that is what you want. If your desire is not met, no matter, it was not a need, but a preference. Oh my God, look at this rainbow reflection. That's so beautiful. It's from my screen protector, I think. But isn't it pretty? Okay, so it's sort of saying like, don't ever be afraid of asking or trying to manifest your highest desires in some sort of guilt. I think this is like a really profound message that you're receiving. That sometimes you associate this third dimensional abundance with this guilt that has been attached to you because you don't necessarily agree with the economic structures, or because it sometimes feels like you could be taking away from this notion of a limited supply. But as you break out of that paradigm, don't be afraid to wish for the highest possible manifestation, because as Almine says, whenever what you're specifically asking for doesn't come about in that specific way, there's no way that the universe will give you the wrong thing. And it's not going to alter the outcome just because you ask for the wrong thing. It's going to just give you the highest match to the frequency that you want, that's aligned to the highest good at the same time, right? So don't feel bad about specifying your desires, and don't have that guilt of associated with the conditioning that comes with the third dimensional abundance. Embody what it means to have the fifth dimensional abundance and kind of exemplify for the world, because it's going to be sort of similar to third dimensional abundance, but just it's going to be a new way of enjoying that. And you're probably going to be one of the first to demonstrate this to this world. And for your outcome, I got 3 clarifier cards for the Knight of Cups. What does this really mean? This offer that's being made to you, this offer of abundance, emotional satisfaction, whatever. And it starts out with this Four of Pentacles, which is that frequency of holding on to your resources, or this is that frequency of that third dimensional abundance that you didn't really agree with. But this offer is going to allow you to kind of shed away from this frequency to move on, which is the 6 of Swords, move on to the next paradigm. And this movement is fueled by this universal cosmic cycle. So whatever this cosmic cycle, whichever one you resonate with, I know there's tons of different explanations as to what's happening celestially right now at this time that's explaining this ascension progress or this transition. Whatever body of study that you resonate with, that movement is fueling you to move on from this. And it's going to come about in some sort of offer or some sort of opportunity that knocks on your door over this month that's going to help you move on. Shift perceptions. And this shift of perception has already occurred in your life. The shift has already happened and you're already embodying the frequency, but you're going to see some sort of tangible movement that's the tangible manifestation of that shift. And you're going to be just watching it unfold. Okay. There was a card that just like jumped out for you, and it's the Perception card from, what deck is this? I think it's the Avalon card. So there's that shift of perception that I just mentioned. I'm gonna pull from one more deck. Okay, so for some of you, this is referring to an interpersonal relationship, and for others of you, it's referring to any aspect of your life, whether it's like life purpose, career, finances, relationships, spirituality, like whatever resonates with you when I describe this. Okay. The first card you have is you hold a space in you hold in your heart a space to be filled. So I know you've been working really hard towards this shift, and sometimes you could be like, is this actually gonna happen, or am I just fucking myself over? It's just but there's been a perception shift from that, right? But that there's been that shift, but it hasn't happened tangibly yet, which so you end up with this 0-point energy field right now in whatever that area is that's really dear to your heart. That's like your heart's ultimate fulfillment wishes. So there's that 0-point energy field, and it could feel like there's nothing there. It could feel like it's empty, and it could feel like sometimes you look back in the past and think like, I could have done this, I could have done that, because it's that 0-point energy field, which has infinite potentials, but somehow it just feels empty right now. But then the bottom of this deck is a comforting presence is on its way. So this 0-point energy field is going to be filled by this perfect unicorn of an opportunity, or whatever circumstance that is, or whatever person that is. It's coming, but because it's just, you know, it's happening, and it just requires faith, and there needs to be this divine synchronicity of this manifesting in your life, and some sort of energetics for you to work through so that it helps the morphogenetic fields. So whatever faith that other people are lacking in the world, as you cultivate more of this faith, it provides a pathway for others to tune into this energy and resonate with this energy. And so that's why sometimes things take a little bit more time, not because you're kind of suffering through it, but because this trail that you're blazing is energetically so beneficial to the rest of the world. And there's going to be an end to this, and there's going to be a point where this is coming, and it is coming. I think either this month, over this month and next month, and it's going to keep amplifying itself, but it is happening. But for now, there's that 0-point energy field. But 0-point energy field is not nothing. It's not empty. There's no such thing as nothing in the world, because that's just a metaphor. Nothing is a metaphor, because everything is something. Everything is existence. So the last thing that you're the last remnants that you're transmuting right now is this sense of victimhood. There is no victimhood. And then there is no death. It says there is no death. And this sense of victimhood comes from a basic fundamental belief in death and lack. And this sense of limited resources, or limited time, or limited self. That's where the victimhood comes up, because once you accept and truly embody this energy of eternal infinity that is not bound by this structure of life and death, which the pronunciation of life and death itself is a societal structure that is just, it makes no sense, and it's part of what bounds the third dimensional reality into its matrix. So as you, for the last time, transmute these energetics within your perception fields, your heart, that heart's true desire is going to be filled with this magical perfection that everything will just fit like puzzle pieces as to why things have happened in certain ways in the past and why you're living this life now, and it's just everything's gonna be Gucci. Okay, so it looks like you have this awesome month ahead of you. Thank you so much, my dear Andromedans, for tuning in. I love you guys so much. You know, Andromedans are such a strong guardian of the earth, and I believe the 7th dimension. And I salute you for your light work, and I love you so much, and I hope you have an amazing month. Keep in touch. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, etc. The channel is growing, and I'm really happy. And shout out to all those people who like randomly found my channel from day one, and shout out to all the new people who found my channel.